On this episode, we'll look at how photo booths have changed over the years, and Mike wants to know how to shoot star trails with his film camera. This episode is brought to you by discoverthetopfloor.com. Join us on a photo tour to the Arctic, to Asia, or to Europe. In 2018, we'll go to photograph the wild northwest of Ireland, the amazing Lofoten in Norway, and a very special desert-themed photo tour to Morocco. Join a group of like-minded people and learn to do the photography you've always dreamed to do. Find out more at discoverthetopfloor.com. This is Tips from the Top Floor, episode 814 for Thursday, the 15th of March, 2018.
Tips from the top floor, tips from the top, alright, from the top floor.
Hey, hello, welcome, this is Chris Marquardt. Welcome to episode 814, 14 of Tips from the Top Floor, the show about all things photography coming to you from the Viewfinder Villa here in Germany. My name is Chris, and let's see. Well, this is a pre-recording, so I don't have any current events that I can talk about. But a few weeks ago, I was a speaker at a German photo event called Learn and Give, which is not the topic I want to talk about, but just briefly, they used to do this annually. I think they're taking a break now. It's a photo event where people talk about the business and the creative side of photography. They invite speakers from around Germany, and it's the speakers don't get paid. It's a donation fundraiser event that is just, it was great. It was wonderful. No, the thing I want to talk about is is the photo booth they had. Now, I know I'm a bit late to the game. Everyone has not by now seen photo booths. But anyway, if you've never seen such a photo booth, let me just talk you through what this is and how it works. And by the way, if you're old enough, you remember photo booths as a place you'd go with a little curtain and a chair that you could rotate and change the height, and you'd get your passport photos or other photos that you would need from there, and they would develop it, and then a film strip comes out, and there used to be film. Yeah, there used to be film and chemicals inside, and a machine that goes bzzz and does a lot of things and takes 5 minutes to develop your photos. If you're interested in that and how these work, I've linked a video in the show notes. But that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about a modern 2017, 2018 style photo booth, which is, more for fun. They're digital. They're mostly automated. Most of the time, they're not booths you sit in, but they come with a whole bunch of props with hats and glasses and beards and stuff that you can use to dress up. And then the one that I saw there was a fun one because they had like a super wide angle lens on the camera, which adds a good level of distortion, which looks fun. Nice background behind it, of course. And the light was interesting in this case because what they did is they had an octagonal softbox, maybe, 2 feet in diameter, 60, 70 centimeters, which had a hole in the middle. So they put the camera, they carved holes into that softbox to put a tripod in there with a camera. So the camera looks straight at you, right out of the middle of that softbox. So it's light that is pretty much in your face. And the result is that it is a big ring light straight from the front. It's more than a ring light. It's more like a wall of light. And then to trip the shutter, you have a big red button on the floor that you step on. It's like a radio control thing. And they probably put a radio trigger in there. And then it's just a ton of fun. It gives you some awesome results. And they had 2 screens there for an instant review. And one is below the softbox and one on the other side of the whole thing for the spectators. And then you get to take your photos and connect them directly to the Wi-Fi, or connect your phone directly to the Wi-Fi of the phone booth, and then download those straight to your phone. And the photo of this episode, by the way, if you go to tfttf.com/814, that photo is pretty much directly from that weekend. And it was fun, and it's lots of fun. And if you ever run into one of those, it's a ton of fun. I know there are lots of businesses now that do these, lots of wedding photographers who do them. You can often hire and rent those things for your event. And then they'll put a little like banner on top of your photo. So you have a little like logo from your event on there. People have a little memory. And I've seen them in different ways. This one was purely digital. So you download the photos and that's it. And then you can post them on social media. Another one I've seen last year was here at the Hanover Maker Fair, where they brought a bus, an old like a VW bus, which was all like with chrome and beautifully restored. And on the inside they had this bench you sit on and a background which was LEDs, and you could put patterns on there so you could change the whole look. And then they had a ton of props there, and you got a countdown timer of a minute, and you have as many photos as you'd like. And then that one even had a printer, so you'd get a photo strip like you used to get in the old photo booths. And so they come in different incarnations. And I looked around. There is now you can pretty much build your own if you want to. There's a software called DSLRbooth.com. There's a free-booth.com. There's a ton of different software out there that you can use to build your own kind of thing there. And yeah, just a lot of fun with this one setup. I think I went back there 3 or 4 times because I couldn't get enough. So yeah, check out the photo on this episode. This episode is supported by MasterClass.com. Imagine learning cooking from Gordon Ramsay, or basketball from Steph Curry, or photography from Annie Leibovitz. Now you can with MasterClass. MasterClass produces online classes taught by the best in the world. Choose from classes taught by over 30 masters across a wide range of fields such as writing, cooking, film, acting, and of course photography, all beautifully produced and carefully curated. Whether you're pursuing your passion, developing your career, or just looking to learn something new, MasterClass gives you access to the best at their craft so that you can master yours. Interested in more than one class? Check out the All Access Pass. With the new All Access Pass, you can unlock every class from over 30 masters, all for the price of 2. Tips on the Top Floor listeners can get the All Access Pass at masterclass.com/topfloor. Learn from the best in the world at masterclass.com/topfloor. masterclass.com/topfloor. And while we're here, of course, you know this episode is also supported by people like you. And one of the biggest means of support, which is really essential to the show, is you sending in voicemails. And just as a little reminder, here's how you do that. Step 1. If you have the choice between recording on your computer and your smartphone, use the smartphone. It'll almost always sound better. Step 2. Find the voice memo app on your smartphone. If you have an iPhone, this is already pre-installed and it's called Voice Memos. If you're an Android, you might have one pre-installed, but if that is not the case, download one of the many free voice recording apps from the Google Play Store. I've put a couple of links in the description of this episode. Step 3. Find a somewhat quiet place, turn off the noisy air condition, hit the record button on your app, then hold the phone as if you were making a phone call and begin talking. Holding the phone that way will make sure that your breathing noises don't interfere with the good sound. And finally, step 4. When you're done, send the recording as an email to voice@tfttf.com. Oh, and by the way, most important, don't worry about how you sound. Most people, when they hear themselves for the first time on a recording, think they sound funny. That's perfectly normal. I also initially didn't like my own voice. That's just because you normally hear yourself from inside your head, and that just sounds different than from the outside. Trust me, your voice sounds just fine, and I have many tricks up my sleeve to make you sound even better. Let me welcome a new sponsor to the show, WeTransfer.com. Now, don't skip this, because this is probably the shortest ad that you'll hear. WeTransfer is all about making the creative process easier for everyone. They built their site to be the simplest way to share big files around the world for free. There's no sign-in, no offer codes, no password to forget. Just upload, send, and get back to making what you make. 40 million people use WeTransfer to send and receive files every month, and since day one, they've devoted 30% of their ad space to showcasing creative people from around the world, from musicians to illustrators to photographers and, of course, to podcasters like me. So in that spirit, I'm skipping the rest of this 60-second ad and getting right back into the podcast. WeTransfer.com. You make WeTransfer.
Hello, Chris. This is Mike from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm going on a beach vacation here in a couple of weeks, and I want to try to do some star streak photography at nighttime over the ocean, possibly, or maybe with palm trees or something like that. It's a pretty small beach town, so the skies are pretty dark, so I feel like I might be able to do this. The problem I have is my digital camera is a Pentax K10D, which while it still does most photography I need to do with it, is getting pretty old and does not do low light well. I thought about upgrading, but I'm actually kind of moving back to film because I just kind of have more fun with it. So thinking about taking a manual film camera down there, maybe the bulb mode or whatever, and trying to do this with film. So any suggestions on or tips or tricks to help me pull off some streaky stars at a night sky above the ocean or something like that would be awesome. Thanks. Love the show.
Thank you, Mike. Star trails with film is pretty much one of the easiest things to do. Let's see. So you said you had a Pentax K10D. Yeah, it's getting old, and with digital cameras, especially with digital cameras doing star trails, it's difficult because they start getting noise, and then you have to use special software and take multiple photos and stitch them together to get a good result. With film, that is just so much easier because film doesn't have the noise problem. You just expose and wait, and that's it. Okay, of course, a dark sky will help. So where you're going sounds good. Light pollution is a problem for night photography. And by the way, shooting eastwards is a good idea because that's where the dark comes in, especially when you're starting to shoot in dusk. Watch for the moon. If there's a full moon in the sky, that's probably not going to work for a star streak. So you have to find out what time the moon is up or down or not on the sky, because that will help. In terms of film choices, not as much choice anymore as there used to be. I know that star photographers, star streak photos with Ektachrome look really good. I know photographers use Kodachrome, which is not on the market anymore. I think Ektachrome is now back or coming back. The one film that I've seen a lot of people use is Provia, Fuji Provia 100F, which seems to be a good choice at this time. And then you need a camera, of course, that has bulb mode. And bulb mode is the mode where you press the shutter and then the shutter stays open as long as you keep that pressed. Or if it's an older camera, you might even have what's called the T mode, which is a time mode, which is you press the shutter, let go, and the shutter stays open, and you press it again and it closes. Fully mechanical usually. The aperture, I would go medium to smallish. If you're on an SLR, f8, f11, some people say f16. Now, of course, there's a bit of a difference between how this shutter is actuated, because cameras might be fully mechanical. That's kind of the best choice there, because then you can have a mechanical cable release, and which has a lock on it, so you can just press that, lock it, and then let it sit there, and you can let it sit there for weeks if you want to. Some cameras with batteries have an electromechanical shutter, and when the battery runs out, they will close. That problem isn't as huge, though, because most cameras don't use a lot of energy for that, at least most film cameras. Digital cameras, yeah, they, depending on the battery and everything, might just close the shutter when the battery runs out. So the focusing, another thing to, of course, think about. You want to focus to infinity, which it's not always at the end of the screw. A manual focus doesn't work in this. Autofocus doesn't work in this context. Manual focus is what you want to do. And yeah, infinity. If you turn that focus ring all the way to the end, to the mechanical stop, that is usually not infinity. On most lenses, it's over infinity. And there's a way to focus on stars that is relatively simple. I think in English it's called a Hartmann mask. Hartmann mask, which is a way to put a sheet of black cardboard in front of your lens with 2 or 3 holes in it, and then you will see the stars 2 or 3 times depending on the amount of holes, and you focus until they kind of melt into one, and then look it up. Hartmann mask is a pretty easy way to get good focus on stars. And then, yeah, as I said, set the camera on a tripod, point it in the general direction. Pointing it north will make circles because you could include the North Star. And then you have like a full circle around the North Star. Or you point it more towards the east, which will help you with a darkened sky, because that's where there's always like this lots of light in the west, even later in the day. East is darker. So press the shutter, lock it, and then go have fun. Go have a couple of beers. I would wait for good results. I would wait for at least 1 or 2 hours, maybe even more. And then with film, yes, you have a pretty noise-free picture. It's pretty clean. So that's interesting. Oh, and by the way, there are, of course, cameras that have weird idiosyncrasies. I read in a forum, if you use a Yashica FX3, take the batteries out before starting the exposure. Otherwise, the red minus LED will stay lit the whole time, and you will get a red glow from it on the film. So, yeah, make sure you don't run into any of these issues. But in general, yeah, put the camera on a tripod, point it the right way, focus, and set the camera on bulb and lock the shutter, go and have fun, and when you come back, you have a photo of star trails. And that was it for this episode of Tips from the Top Floor. Thank you so much again for your support, and thanks to MasterClass and WeTransfer for helping make this show possible. I really couldn't go last and make it such a mess. And remember, the March Slack photo challenge is still in progress. You have until the end of March to submit your photo for the topic water. And at the end of March, I will pick 3 of your photos and review them here on the show. To participate, all you'll have to do is shoot a fresh photo, submit it to the TFTTF Slack. And if you're wondering how to become a member of this wonderful TFTTF Slack community, check the link in the description of this episode. Music for the show by Jeff Smith, silent partner in Hans-Peter Kagwood, publishing and Slack challenges by Release Pixie, Matt Rapsitar Armstead, Slack invitations by Chief Invitation Officer, CIO Rusty Russ. My name's Chris Marquardt. Follow me on Facebook and on Twitter at Chris Marquardt, Chris Marquardt. And of course, go out and take amazing photos. Be nice to each other. And happy shooting.